Now, Real Madrid are claiming a legal victory in their ongoing battle with UEFA, the Spanish FA and LaLiga after a regional Spanish judge gave them permission to seek damages over the collapsed European Super League. Now, this is complicated, so we've got our football correspondent, Rob Dorset, on set. Rob, can you explain what's going on here?
I'll do my best. But it is
You've got a lot of notes there.
I've got a lot of notes. Look, this has been a long legal battle between Real Madrid and the football authorities, with UEFA at the point of that legal battle, because Real Madrid were probably the biggest driving force behind the idea of a European Super League back in 2021. Now, what's happened today is that the Regional Court of Madrid, so one of the lower courts in Spain, has dismissed an appeal by UEFA and the Spanish FA and La Liga, which tried to put a block on Real Madrid suing them. So, in effect now, Real Madrid have the right to pursue those three entities through the courts. And they've confirmed today in a statement, Real Madrid, that they will do that specifically against UEFA, and they will seek, quote, substantial damages for what they feel cost them an awful lot of money when they were kicked out of the Super League back in 2021. You remember at the time, all 6 Premier League clubs who wanted to be included in that Super League withdrew pretty quickly afterwards as well, after a public backlash. But I think UEFA are fairly relaxed about this latest legal development, because they say that whilst this gives Real Madrid the right to sue them, it doesn't mean that they're going to win that case if and when it gets to court. And I think there's some scepticism about whether it'll actually ever get to court. But certainly it's a legal victory for Real Madrid today. But whether that leads to any big victory at the end, we'll have to wait and see.
And what about the prospect of the European Super League? Does this mean that potentially is more realistic?
No, is the simple and short answer to that.
Thanks for clearing that up.
And it's pretty categorical. I think since the idea of the Super League was mooted, a lot of competitions, the Premier League in particular, have tightened up their legislation to make it much more difficult for clubs to break away. And in fact, UEFA did exactly that in 2022 and reinforced those rules and tweaked them in 2024 to make it much, much harder for clubs to break away from the traditional competitions. But I think you have to say that this is a really awkward and embarrassing legal situation between Real Madrid and UEFA. You've got, on the one hand, the governing body of football across the continent of Europe, incredibly powerful, incredibly rich. And on the other hand, you've got Real Madrid, the most successful club there's ever been in European football. And they're at loggerheads and they're trying to battle it out in the courts. The other thing to point out is that the European Parliament passed a ruling earlier this month that formalises its opposition to anything like a European breakaway league. And so it's tougher to do it within the world of politics as well. So this is the world of politics, this is the legal world and the football world all doubling down to say we don't want breakaway leagues like this to happen, as the European Super League was. It's since been rebranded as the Unity League, ironically, in 2024. So to sum it all up, no, it doesn't make the Super League any more likely to happen in any form. In fact, it's tougher today than I think it ever has been since it was first mooted in 2021. Yes, there's been a legal victory for Real Madrid today that they're shouting from the rooftops. They're saying they will sue UEFA as a result of today's legal ruling, but whether they actually make any money from it, whether they actually win when they get their day in court against UEFA, I think that's a moot point.